Welcome to Print Fail Friday, episode 18, where I ponder all about rebranding. Do Pruses include gummy bears? White filament sucks to print with, and blobs of doom and ghosting are just the worst darn thing in the world. Failure is always an option. We're here to fix it. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to 3D Musketeers. We are gonna jump into the fails real quick. I want to go through all the ones that we have. We'll have them time stamped on the screen as well as in the chapters here, so if you want to skip around, you can. But we are considering rebranding PrintFailFriday to PrintFixFriday. We're realizing that people that are watching the videos are just kind of looking for the fails and to laugh at fails, rather than look to potentially get some help. And I want this to be something where people look at to get assistance. This is about fixing your failed print. So maybe PrintFixFriday is not a bad idea. I'd love to know your thoughts on a rebrand, maybe a new name for it. I don't know. Let me know. Love to know down in those comments. But we've got some great fails coming up for you today. We've got an Ender 3 Pro that's got dents in it. We've got potentially some ringing problems. We've got a submission from our Patreon supporters where a printer completely threw its glass bed off. And we have one from Twitter where we had a fan do a submission as well. And of course, do Pruses come with gummy bears? But with all that being said, let's get into the fails. First up, we got, what could this problem be? I've calibrated my Ender 3 Pro, but I'm still getting layer issues. My most recent print looks dented, not part of the design, and it's got some major lines at the top. Could this be a Z-Rod problem, or is it something else? So let's take a look here. Well, I mean, your first layer is not great, but it's an Ender 3, so it's probably about as good as it's gonna get. I want to take a better look at this. What are those? Okay, those dents. Boy, that ain't right. I don't, is it warping? It might be from warping. Oh, wait, I think I know what's going on here. I think you're printing it in a poor orientation. So when we look at this, it's printing front to back. So the printer's just kind of moving like this, right? So you have the nozzle, your part is here, and so the nozzle is moving like this. So the part is end up moving like this. If you turn it sideways so it moves lengthwise, try that. I think what's happening here is the printer's hitting your part, or your part is warping a little bit, or it's wiggling as it's printing, and you have a flex plate. So this is the thing with flex plates, okay? Not all flex plates are created equal, and that's not great, okay? Cheap flex plates, as you build your part up, will have a tendency themselves to flex. We are going to be hopefully doing a showdown on flex plates, so get subscribed if you want to see that. And let me know down in those comments if you want to see it as well. It appears they are also slicing with Cura to get the support material. First layer calibration is okay. The middle's a little bit close, but with tall parts like this, that's okay. What initially clued me into there might be a problem is right down here. We've got some damage to the bottom of the part. The dents up here, I ain't got a damn clue what those are causing. That looks like you took a torch to it to clean up the strings, and you left the heat on just a hair too long. These lines here are almost positive the part wiggling. When you have a tall, thin part like this, the chances of it wiggling is pretty damn high, and you'll want to at least minimally put a brim on it. But if you don't need to print this in one piece, I would cut it right at the line there. You could also look at cutting it right here, right? So you have kind of known areas where there are going to be seams. This is a tall, thin part. It's tough for any printer. I don't care who makes it. It's tough. What are the ways to fix it? If you like it, then you should put a brim on it. So I would put a brim on it. I don't know what the lines are and what they're for, but the dents up there at the top, that appears to be that someone took a torch to it and it got too hot and it melted in. Otherwise, buddy, I ain't got a clue, because I would bet that it's in your design somehow. Printers don't just randomly put dents into parts, and especially not like that, right? If you do see dents in parts, it looks like this was overheated. It looks like someone took a torch to it and hit it, and what'll happen is the part's going to melt a little bit, and then when it cools, because the air inside of your part that's trapped in the infill is cooler than the hot air, it's going to move toward the colder air. It's just how it works. The lines here, that's a bed adhesion thing. I would make sure that you really have this thing stuck down well. But this part, in general, is not going to be the easiest to 3D print, right? It appears that it is also curved, so you couldn't just lay it flat, which really sucks, as that would be the ideal way to print it. But you just got to work with what you got sometimes. And again, I'd put a brim on it. I would check my temperatures. I don't think it's a Z-rod problem. I think it's more of just straight bed adhesion. Yeah, the major lines I think are going to be a bed adhesion thing. It could be a Z-axis. If you want, run your Z-axis up and down. It appears you have the single Z on this, so make sure your eccentric nuts for the V-wheels over here are tight. The way to check this, and we covered this in our Ender 3 Pro upgrade video, we'll card to that right there so you guys can take a look. But you basically want to, if you could hold the V-wheel and move the axis up and down and the V-wheel is not turning, that's too loose. If the V-wheel is so tight that the axis can't move unless it is rolling, that is too tight. There is a weird kind of in-between. If it's loosey-goosey and you can just spin it when the axis is not moving, way too loose. So you might want to look at tightening it up. It's normally a 10 mil, but have a 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 available. Open end wrenches will get it done. You could also use some needle nose pliers, but my preference is open end wrench. My culprits here, I'm going to yell at the flex plate because I think the flex plate's got something to do with it. I'm going to go after first layer bed adhesion because I think that's got something to do with it as well. We've got maybe some Z banding here, but it's not consistent enough for me to call it Z banding. I don't know what these folds, I guess, are for, and I don't know if they're supposed to be there. But this is also white filament. When you use white filament, you are very much turning the difficulty to 11. White shows all these little problems. Now, we've got some lines here, here, and here. That is not in line with anything that I believe would be considered Z-banding. Although they do look reasonably consistent in terms of their distance, I am more suspect that this is pigmentation in the filament rather than something else. I could be wrong, but I think this is just the filament's not great. I want to know who makes the filament. That will be important to know as well, because ultimately, if it's crap filament from the beginning, you're going to get crap prints. Also knowing if it's PLA, ABS, PETG, something along those lines is crazy useful too. I think one of those is going to be the answer. This one probably has a few different problems that we need to work on to where we can get it to where it's functioning well. But everybody's got to start somewhere. I think this is a good place to start, and I hope that it works out. I tried everything. Please, if you have any idea, tell me why. Someone asks, it's not your infill showing through, is it? And OP says, nope, that's not infill. Here's what I did try. Materials PLA, but I did try others to see if it's the same problem. 180 to 240, yes, no retraction, using default settings that worked before, just lowering retraction distance. Cleaning and then changing nozzle, speed 30 to 70, flow multiplier 70 to 130, recalibrating E-steps, using a different slicer, using ASA and PETG. Let's take a look at this a little bit closer. Oh, okay. Couple of things. This is likely ringing. Check your axes for slop. So when you're dealing with, and I'm assuming this is an Ender 3, it's going to likely be an Ender 3. We don't know what printer it is, but I'm going to generally assume it's an Ender 3 because like 9 times out of 10, it's an Ender 3. This is ringing. So this is when a printer goes around a corner, it's going to have resonance to it, okay? It's not immediately stopping, then immediately starting, right? When you accelerate anything at a certain speed, you're going to have ringing. If your machine is loose, it's going to have a lot more ringing. Think about this like suspension in a car and you hit a bump. If your suspension is really stiff, ooh, you feel it. I complain because my back hurts, but I complain once. Okay, it's a nice sharp hit, and that's it. If it's a soft suspension, you're going to hit the bump. It's not going to be as hard, but you're going to go bounce, 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 bounce. We've got some bouncing, and I'm fairly certain that's what's going on here. Now, we've got a pattern, and the pattern is consistent. So I think this is ringing, and it goes backwards here because it looks like it's based on perimeters. I don't know if this is infill. I don't think that it is, but I'd like to see an STL file or minimally some settings that were being used. This might be infill poking through, so check your infill overlap percentage. It should be somewhere between 20 and 25%. I wouldn't go any further. If this is a single-walled object, you're going to have this a lot more common than others. But they said they've tried all of these things. And we only have this one single solitary photo. I'm going to need to see all of those tests to see how it looks. My best guess is that it's ringing. And if that's the case, go ahead and tighten up the entire X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis, and E-axis. So E-axis is your extruder. I want to make sure that all the V-wheels are tight, because ball bearing printers don't do this. I want to make sure all the V-wheels are tight. If it is a printer that uses iGoose, so these are the linear bearings that are actually bushings. They use Drylin, which is similar to Delrin, just... yeah. But we've got a situation here where there could be quite a few things. I'm almost certain it's ringing. I'm almost certain it's ringing. And that the printer is just resonating based on how fast it's doing things. I believe we are seeing a pattern that is also something related to the Z-axis. I think this entire printer is loose and needs to be tightened. It could even be belts. Make sure your belts are not loose. But something here is ringing and resonating. And whether it's the Z-axis, the X-axis, the Y-axis, or the E-axis, something here is ringing. I want to see other photos of this part. I want to see other angles of it. And I want to see all of the results that have been done. They said they've tried a lot of different things. I want to see every one of them. When you are asking for help, the best way that you can get help is to help the people that are helping you. Provide pictures of your settings, show all the tests that you've done with some sort of labeling system so we know what we're looking at, and really just sit down and go through like, all right, if I was trying to help, what would I need? I don't believe this is infill. I might go with potentially, but because it's a pattern base, I don't think it's infill. Because infill, you would see it, right? You would see X's, or you would see lines, or something. You would see something. This is not indicative of infill showing through. I believe this is ringing. So I would look at your acceleration values, turn them up, turn them down. Whatever number you're at is not working for your printer. So I would first look at go ahead and making sure that everything is nice and tight. Then go ahead and run a print. If you're still seeing it, let's look at adjusting your acceleration values. Because what we do see is when we go up to that top layer, it is still ringing, but it's changing. The ringing pattern is different. So the bottom layers and the top layers are different than the others. And I believe that's got something to do with speed. So I still believe this is ringing, but I believe that we can get through this. So hopefully we have a follow-up on this one. I really want to see what happens here. This one is interesting. Next, we move into a patron submission. I want to thank Jimmy Johansson for submitting this in our Discord server. And if you want to support this channel directly, you can do so at patreon.com/3D Musketeers. And if you want to join the Discord server, that's the $10 tier or higher. You can come hang out with guys like me and the rest of the team where we talk about all things crazy, and you get to see some things ahead of time. I've got a video coming up with this big case, and I'm not going to tell you what's in it. You're going to have to get subscribed and wait to see the video. But let's talk about this failure. This is Jimmy's fail. And Jimmy's had a bit of a bad time. He's got a blob of doom. He's got a build plate that went all and decided to go have fun with itself somewhere else. And we have a prototype Revo. As far as I can tell, this is a prototype E3D Revo. And that's pretty cool. Also, Jimmy, clean your gosh darn printer. Bro, clean your printer. I'm going to give you crap for that. What is all this white powder, Jimmy? But no, this is just dust, grime, debris, and heated filament. So it's not a little schneef, if you will. But we've got a blob of doom. We've got a build plate that decided to fall off. And let's kind of talk about what went wrong here. Jimmy, I'm going to read exactly what he said. Although his first thing was, do I need to dry my filament? Which I love, that's become a meme in our Discord of, do I need to dry my filament? Because that's beautiful. He said, I'm actually not sure what caused this. It printed fine until he went to bed. I said, well, the print popped off the bed and somehow curled up around the hot. And he said, well, that's the symptom. But what happened first? It looked like spaghetti around the print. So for some reason, the PETG stopped sticking to previous layers, causing a buildup of the blob of doom, which then got strong enough to displace the bed and then kept feeding the blob of doom until I actually think I got thermal runaway. I said it's bad bed adhesion ultimately, and he said, no, everything was stuck to the bed perfectly. Yep, he's right. I didn't see that photo. It stuck to the bed perfectly. So what happened here? I think the build plate actually got screwed up here to begin with. I think that since it's PET, we might have had a little bit of curling that caused the printer to maybe skip a step or two, and then it started to print some spaghetti. At some point, it started to create a blob of doom, like Jimmy said, that got all surrounding the hot end. Yummy. How many licks does it take to get to the center of that Tootsie Pop? 3. It's definitely more than 3. Also, awesome Hemera. Gotta love the Hemera. With a Revo. Hell yeah. I don't have a Revo Hemera, but that is something that I do want to get soon because I have a printer that I want to put it on. That's another talk for another day. I do think that this is just bad luck. This is just bad luck. Can you solve this? Maybe, right? If we saw exactly what happened, I would guess that we had some PETG that curled up and the printer rammed into it. How do you fix it? You reprint the parts, right? You reprint the parts. It does appear that everything stuck just fine, so it's not going to be a bed adhesion issue. Maybe we had some warping from bad bed adhesion, but nothing came detached. We can see that it did skip some steps before eventually yeeting the bed off the build plate. And hey, you gotta love printing inside of an enclosure because it saved your floor, which is good. Although, looks like it might have cracked the glass. I don't know. But yeah, kind of sucks. I appreciate you sharing this with us. That's pretty cool. But yeah, there's really not a good way to solve this other than just try it again. Clean off the hot end. It looks like it might have leaked a little bit too. And this is a prototype Revo, so this is still using a V6 nozzle, it looks like. So this is an old Revo, I think. I could be wrong. If it's not a Revo, let me know in the comments, Jimmy. And I'll make a correction. I'll pin the comment to correct it. But really, really cool. Fails suck. But you know what? It's part of the game. If you think you're going to have a 3D printing experience with no fails, you're going to have a bad time. Every time. We have another fan submission. Thank you guys for submitting to all of this. You can tag us on Twitter. You can tag us on Instagram. You can use the hashtag PrintFail. It says, help! Trying to help my son with a 3D printing project. I think the settings may have been messed up, but not sure where. Thoughts? I said, when you are not printing, heat up the printer and try extruding. Is it coming out in a straight line? Is the extruder clicking? Is the filament moving when the gear pushing it is turning? I think your nozzle is clogged, but it may be something in the extruder system too. Don't know. They replied with, when I extrude, it starts curling, then drips down in a straight line. It looks like the material, after it hardens, it appears to have some waviness in the thickness. This is absolutely indicative of a nozzle clog. That's exactly what I said. I'm guessing it's clogged. Do a cold pull. Heat the printer to operating temp, cool to about 120 C or so, and then manually pull out the filament fast. Release tension from the extruder to do this. They decided not to do that and just replace the nozzle, and it worked perfectly fine. Now, I will say we do have some Z-wobble still, so look at tightening up your V-wheels. I feel like that's something that we need to do. A whole video on just tighten your gosh darn V-wheels. That's all it should be. Hey, my 3D printer's got Z-bang, tighten V-wheels. Hangs up the phone. Is it normal that Prusa printers come with gummy bears? You must be new here. Yes, not only is it normal, it is expected. To the point where the gummy bears are included in the manual, which means you didn't read the fucking manual, or RTFM. The comments on this are beautiful. Over 5,000 upvotes. The entire thing is just amazing, right? They said, yep, enjoy. If you bought a kit, there will be instructions for when and how many gummy bears to eat as you build your printer. Otherwise, just enjoy. And it's true. Throughout the entire Prusa manual, we'll have some of the pictures up on screen here, it actually tells you to stop, have some bears, and go back to work. I love this because it is progress payment with progress delivery, and it keeps you motivated to finish the project because guess what? Mark 3S's for your first time can take something like 8 to 12 hours to build, and a mini mostly assembled will take roughly 45 minutes to an hour based on my experience with the great Amber B. We'll card to that video so you guys can see it as well. This one is yeah, it's just funny. It's a good one to end off on. I like it. We will link to this and all the other fails in the description of this video, so if you guys want to check out the threads that came of it, you absolutely can. This one is just hilarious to read, and I thought I had to put it out there that yes, Prusas come with gummy bears. It's kind of a meme at this point. But anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Leave a comment down below what you think of renaming PrintFailFriday to PrintFixFriday. I think it's actually a good idea. What do you think of these fails? I think we're starting to get a little bit better with how we're doing things and getting into more of a groove. White filament seemed to be the kind of key problem that we dealt with today, but you know, every day is a little bit different. That's what we love about this industry. But anyways, stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video, and a massive thank you goes out to our patrons, whose names, the $5 tier and higher, are listed right next to me. If you want to get involved and support what we do here at 3D Musketeers, you can do so by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/3dmusketeers, and YouTube channel memberships are coming right around the corner, so if you don't want to make an account with Patreon, you can support us directly through YouTube as well. Right below me will be the entire Print Fail Friday series, and if you like fails and you like learning about how to fix them, you can do so down there. And right next to it is going to be the Sanjay series. I love that series. We just saw a brand new Revo come out, the Revo Voron edition, and apparently Sanjay hinted at it during our talk. Can you find where? Leave a comment on that video and we'll let you know if you're right. I will see you all down in those comments, and in the next one, take care.